Hello there, very good evening to all of you and welcome to the news tonight where we get you the day's top stories from India and across the world. I'm Tracy Shilji and join me for the next 30 minutes on all those stories. But first, the headlines. Markets take a hit ahead of the report on the US jobs data. Sensex loses 563 points. But the IMF says despite market volatility, India has good short-term growth prospects. On the eve of Teachers' Day, the President takes a class in political science for students. Prime Minister Modi, too, holds a lively interaction with school kids. The Prime Minister attends the coordination committee meeting of the RSS and the BJP. RSS declares the government's direction, commitment and dedication is good. High Court rules in favour of women in the Indian Navy, allows them retirement benefits and full-term service. And as migrants continue to pour into Europe, United Nations calls the crisis a defining moment in history, says the European Union must accept up to 2 lakh refugees and mobilize forces for help. Top story this evening coming in from the markets, which slipped to a fresh 13-month low today amid continued sell-off from foreign investors. Sensex and the Nifty fell over 2% after making moderate gains on Thursday. Weak global markets and fear of the US Fed rate hike impacted sentiment of traders. Rupee too weakened further against the dollar.
A day after breaking a 3-day losing streak, weak global cues pegged back the stock markets once again on Friday. There was heavy sell-off from foreign investors despite the government announcing relief on minimum alternative tax. Sensex fell nearly 600 points to its lowest closing figures in 13 months. The Nifty plunged more than 100 points to settle below the 7,700 mark. The rupee also weakened by over 20 paise against the dollar. Analysts said there is a major global risk aversion in emerging markets due to a possible interest rate hike in the US and concerns over slowdown in China. Pace of reforms and weak monsoon have weighed on the market sentiment as well.
There's a lot of nervousness in the entire globe because of what has happened in China in the past 1 month. So I think in this backdrop of nervousness, the expectation or the wait for an important data, a very important data, is adding to the nervousness, and this is what we are seeing in the Indian markets today.
Well, markets are deep in red today. They are down, but Sensex is down by more than 500 points as I'm talking to you. And the reasons are the same reasons which I told you a few days back. In the absence of any positive trigger, there is a huge unwinding happening. The foreign investors, they are getting a little disenchanted with the market.
Concerns over a possible US Fed rate hike hit the Asian markets too. Japanese stocks plunged to a 7-month low, with Nikkei losing over 2%. Major European markets were also down by nearly 2%. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Finance Minister Arunjaitley is visiting Ankara to attend the 2-day meeting of the G20 finance ministers and central bank governors. The ministers will review ongoing global economic developments and discuss measures to tackle them. RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan will also be taking part in the meet. India has expressed concern over fears in the global economy triggered by the devaluation of the yuan and the slowdown in the Chinese economy. India says that the competitive currency devaluations are a major threat to global stability. It will ask leaders to analyze measures and develop a global safety net. Ministers will also be looking at financial market regulations and also the global fight against black money. In other news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacted with students from across the country ahead of Teachers' Day, which marks the birthday of the second President of India, Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan. At a special function in the national capital, around 800 students and 60 teachers from different Delhi schools interacted with the Prime Minister. In fact, students from other states too joined in via video conferencing. Modi also released a commemorative coin of 125 rupees and 10 rupees in the honour of the late President. Here are some excerpts from the Prime Minister's interaction.
मेरा अनुभव है कि शिक्षक की पहचान विद्यार्थी होता है। विद्यार्थी अपने कर्तृत्व से, अपने पराक्रम से अपने गुरुजन का नाम रोशन करता है। और शायद ही दुनिया में कोई ऐसा व्यक्ति होगा जो इस बात को स्वीकार न करता हो कि उसके जीवन को बनाने में उसकी माता का और उसके शिक्षक का योगदान न हो। हर एक के पास कैरेक्टर सर्टिफिकेट होता है और जो जेल में है उनके पास भी होता है। इसका मतलब हुआ कि ऐसे ही एक कागज बांटा जाता है, या एक रिचुअल हो गया है। तो मैंने डिपार्टमेंट को कहा है कि कैरेक्टर सर्टिफिकेट के बजाय एप्टीट्यूड सर्टिफिकेट देना चाहिए। डॉक्टर अब्दुल कलाम जी को तो निकट से हम लोगों ने देखा है, वे भी भारत के राष्ट्रपति थे और बच्चों को बहुत प्यार करते थे, और यानी सचमुच में उनका वो पैशन था। उनको किसी ने पूछा था एक बार कि आप क्या चाहेंगे, लोग आपको कैसे याद रखें? तो डॉक्टर अब्दुल कलाम जी ने कहा कि लोग मुझे अगर याद रखना है तो टीचर के रूप में याद रखें। मेरे लिए अब ये उनके सिर्फ शब्द नहीं थे। राष्ट्रपति पद से मुक्त होने के दूसरे ही दिन वे चेन्नई चले गए और चेन्नई में जाकर के क्लासरूम में बच्चों को पढ़ाना शुरू कर दिया। एक प्रकार से एम्पावरमेंट मूवमेंट है डिजिटल इंडिया। ये कोई तामझाम नहीं है कि हमारे देश में इतने मोबाइल फोन हैं या हमारे देश में ये है। ये सामान्य नागरिक को एम्पावर करने वाला बड़ा मिशन है। डिजिटल इंडिया, हम सब अब उससे अछूते नहीं रह सकते हैं। वो हमारी जिंदगी का हिस्सा बन गया है और हमें भी अगर गति बढ़ानी है, ट्रांसपेरेंसी लानी है, गुड गवर्नेंस की ओर जाना है तो ई गवर्नेंस का उपयोग करना है।
Well, President Pranab Mukherjee too turned professor on the eve of Teachers' Day, taking a class on political science. He taught the subject to senior secondary students of a government school in the President's estate. The President's lesson included details about the writing of the Constitution of India and the historical background of the issue. But probably the best part about his lesson was when he took a trip down memory lane and shared with the class his own experiences as a student. The idea of this special class came from Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. It was the part of the AAP government program Be a Teacher, where renowned personalities from different walks of life take classes and inspire students to achieve excellence in life.
And your teacher. I was a very naughty boy and I used to give trouble to my mother almost endless. None of you are that naughty, I am sure. I was very naughty. Initially, for 3-4 years, I did not go to school. That is, of course, not high school. That was primary school. And I used to complain every day to my mother, oh, I cannot walk so much, 5 kilometers, no road. Then my mother used to ask me only one question, what would you do? What is your option? You must pass the school final.
Well, after that special class, the President also interacted with some teachers in a separate session, saying there was a need for social recognition and financial security for teachers. The President said that this would inspire them to perform better. He also specially thanked teachers across the country for their contribution.
If we can inculcate in a larger way amongst the teachers and the students and make the society to recognize the values of the teachers, perhaps it would be possible to attract bright students and talented persons in the teaching profession. But they are the teachers of the society at large, people at large. And they will also have to feel confident about the potentiality which they have in creating the responsive citizens which we require to take our rightful place in the Committee of Nations and to make the country, the vast multitude of humanity, more than 1.2 billion people, to be dynamic, progressive, prosperous, healthy, and educated.
On to other news now. The RSS has said that the Modi government is moving in the right direction and that it was not reviewing its performance. The remarks came after a 3-day coordination meeting between the BJP and the RSS. The RSS also rejected criticism that it was acting like a remote control, saying it was only giving inputs to ministers who are Swayamsevaks. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also attended the meeting on the final day. A broad range of issues were discussed, which included deliberations on internal security, the Naxal problem and the situation in Jammu and Kashmir.
14 महीने हुए हैं और भी समय है और बहुत सारे काम करने हैं। दिशा ठीक है, उपलब्धि अच्छी है और आगे बढ़ेंगे। जितना हुआ है इसमें हम दिशा ठीक है, लगन ठीक है, प्रतिबद्धता अच्छी है। इस दृष्टि से हम कह रहे हैं कि ये आगे बढ़ने चाहिए, बढ़ेगा। इतना ही हम इनपुट्स दे रहे थे।
But the opposition has rejected the RSS argument and insisted that it stood exposed as the hand behind running the government.
Despite the claims of RSS that it's a social and cultural organization and has nothing to do with politics, it's at arm's length. It's not at arm's length as far as politics is concerned. It's a tight and firm embrace of politics. The hypocrisy of RSS and BJP stands fully exposed.
More politics, and in Bihar, the anti-BJP Grand Alliance parties are in damage control mode. This a day after the Samajwadi Party's exit from the group. Parties said that they hope to persuade Mulayam Singh Yadav to roll back his decision. RJD chief Lalu Prasad and JDU President Sharad Yadav in fact flew to Delhi to placate Mulayam. They remain confident that the alliance will remain intact. However, the trio did not discuss the seat sharing issue.
जो गठबंधन है उसे मजबूत करना है, बनाए रखना है, उसी की चर्चा आज सारे समय हुई है। और गठबंधन पहले भी था, अभी भी है, आगे भी रहेगा।
माननीय मुलायम सिंह यादव जी हम लोग के गार्जियन है, अभिभावक हैं और देश और दुनिया भर में जनता परिवार के इकट्ठा करने में काफी योगदान है माननीय मुलायम सिंह यादव जी का।
Now, in a historic judgment, the Delhi High Court today allowed naval women officers to be permanently commissioned, which means women officers can now stay with the Indian Navy till they retire. They will also be entitled to full retirement benefits. So far, the Navy was limiting women officers only to short service commissions of up to 14 years. The court verdict comes after some women officers alleged gender discrimination. In a similar High Court ruling in 2010, women were allowed permanent commission in the Army and the Indian Air Force as well. With that, let's take you through more national news updates in Nationwide. Former Coal Secretary H.C. Gupta and 4 others were granted bail by a special court in a coal block allocation scam case. The case pertains to alleged irregularities in allocating blocks in Jharkhand to 2 Jindal Group companies. The court will hear the case next on the 21st of September. At least 39 people were injured when a passenger train derailed in Cuddalore district of Tamil Nadu. A medical train was rushed to the spot and special buses rescued stranded passengers. The train later left for its destination, but rescue work is still on to remove the 5 derailed coaches. Over 50 children were hospitalized in Madhya Pradesh's Chhatarpur district after they consumed a midday meal. Parents allege that the quality of the meals is never checked. The government has formed an investigation team to look into the matter. Pakistani troops violated ceasefire twice overnight by resorting to small arms firing. Mortar shelling along the Indo-Pak border in Jammu and Poonch districts was retaliated by the Indian Army. There are no reports of injuries, though. With that, a quick break here. Up next, international news, and the UN asks EU nations to jointly tackle the migrant crisis that is gradually spinning out of control. Details ahead.
Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news tonight, and let's turn our focus to the top international story. Terming the migrant crisis as a defining moment in history, the United Nations today said that the EU must accept up to 2 lakh refugees and mobilize full force for the crisis. The UN's remark comes ahead of a EU meeting later this month. Meanwhile, hundreds of more refugees were rescued by Italian coast guards, while thousands in Budapest are making their way to the border of Austria by foot. Here's a report.
Stalemate between migrants and Hungarian authorities continue as hundreds remain stranded at a railway station near Budapest, refusing to go to a nearby camp to process asylum seekers. They insist on being allowed to remain on the train bound for a border town near Austria instead of going to refugee camps. And the United Nations has backed them. The world body's refugee agency said the stranded migrants have a right to know where they are being taken. The UN also wants the EU nations to accept up to 2 lakh refugees as part of a common strategy.
People have been misled in terms of where the trains are going. That would be a terrible thing. I think that information has been one of the weak problems, or one of the main problems so far, and it has to be addressed. People need to know, they deserve to know what's in store for them, where they are being sent, and to make the right decision.
Austria, Hungary, Serbia and Macedonia signed a memorandum of understanding to find and implement measures to cope with the huge influx of refugees in a coordinated manner.
A lot of modification of the Hungarian law to create the possibility to introduce a crisis situation because of the migration flow, to create an accelerated procedure.
Close to 400 migrants were rescued on Thursday and brought to shore by Italian coast guards. So far, close to 3,000 migrants have been rescued from sea by Italian coast guards in the last 24 hours. Amid the crisis, EU ministers are set to meet later this month to chalk out a strategy to find a solution to the crisis. After Germany, United Kingdom's Prime Minister David Cameron is also under pressure.
We were aware that this was coming, and we obviously welcome very much the move to increase resettlement spaces for Syrians in the UK. It is those spaces are going to be critical to the lives and future of 4,000 people.
Meanwhile, the Syrian toddler who washed up ashore on Thursday has been buried with his brother and mother in Kobani. The image of his body lying on the shore has now become the face of the human tragedy in the worst migrant crisis in Europe. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
What a story there. Well, Sheetal Sharma, who's the assistant professor at JNU, joining us again on this story here in studio. Sheetal, thanks so much for speaking to us. Well, it's been, over a week since we last spoke, Sheetal, on this story. And, the only thing that's changed is the number of people who've been coming into these European nations, but no concrete steps from the EU as yet.
Tracy, as you know, that Europe has always been a kind of destination for people to look for better prospects, for employment opportunities, or, to be part of a developed world. However, suddenly in the last couple of months, the crisis has, gained so much big proportion that it has gone beyond the capacity of the EU member states to handle it. Migration has always been happening. Asylum seekers were always there. But since, the month of July, and particularly the influx from Syria and Iran, the number of people, those who are now trying to enter the borders of European Union has gone beyond the control of the individual member states. Now, if we look at the map of the European Union, or say the continent Europe, it's the semicircle, the half. Yes. It starts from Spain on the left-hand side up to the, Turkey on this side. Now, all this is surrounded by the countries which are, some of them say North Africa, poverty-stricken. People are looking for, job opportunities, employment. Some of the countries like Libya and Tunisia, they are facing political turmoil, they are facing crisis. Now on the east side, in the Middle East, there is a problem of now persecution of some communities, and what IS has been doing in Syria.
Yes.
The problem is becoming very grave with every passing day. And from all the three sides, people are trying to enter to Europe, into the European Union, in order to, have a safer life, or at least live.
Yes.
So that is why more and more people are now flocking towards these countries.
You're talking about the Syrians really, and as far as the IS control into Syria is concerned, we were of course talking about also the kind of people who are actually now coming into this crisis, or coming as migrants now. It's not just those who are poor. It's not just those who are looking for a better future as far as economic security is concerned, isn't it?
See, earlier the situation was that Europe is facing a demographic deficit, that European population is aging and they need people to work. And all these countries from where people were coming, they were supplying labor, which was generally engaged in mid-level or, medium educated or mid-skill level jobs. They were doing, all of them. Now, how situation has changed now, first of all, there is a confusion between a migrant and an asylum seeker in this situation. Unless until there is a clarity on both the terms, the way they are being used, there will be, problem that will continue to exist.
Yes.
Secondly, the issue is that those who are now coming as asylum seekers, particularly from Syria, these people are not poor or less educated or moderately skilled.
That's right.
These people are highly skilled, they are professionals, there are people such as surgeons, doctors, educationists, professors, engineers, those who are fleeing, the country to just live. That's the basic requirement which has, pushed them that they leave their jobs. Some of them were running good businesses. And all these people, they are leaving their property behind, and they are coming into European Union in order to just survive.
Yes, absolutely. And is this the reason why authorities, let's say even a situation that's developing in Hungary, is this one of the reasons why it's also getting difficult to control the crowds by the respective governments? Because, you've got people who are not just uneducated. They know how things are in the world, and they need to know where they're being taken. They need to know what is going to be the procedure, and they are obviously questioning authorities, and that is also creating a sort of friction with that particular government that they are questioning.
You're absolutely right. Earlier there was a procedure for asylum seeking, that when you enter a particular country, you fill up a registration form. And then within the Schengen countries, you move towards, whichever country. And Germany is the best preferred destination, then Sweden, then France, and then Italy. It goes like that. Now, what has happened in Italy and in Greece, in some of the areas, the influx was so high from Libya, Tunisia, and other North African countries that they bypassed some of the processes. And that is why now, when it is coming from the Balkan side, that, they are asking them to register. But some of these asylum seekers are, yes, you are very right in terms of they are very assertive, they know their rights, they are better educated, they have more understanding of their fundamental rights to survival, to dignity, to life and all that. And that is why what we just saw in, a small report, that they need to know where are they going, what is their destiny, where they are being taken to.
Yes.
So
let's hope the pressure really that's coming in from the UN, and of course, the very fact that everyone now is talking about this crisis, especially after that little boy's visuals that we saw. Let's hope that something does come out eventually, at least by the next week. Thanks so much, joining me and giving us, details of really what's going to be happening in the next week or so. Let's hopefully think something is going to be happening as far as positivity of that is concerned. Meanwhile, after attending China's World War II anniversary parade yesterday, Russian President Vladimir Putin also had a formal meeting with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. Details now emerging that both leaders pledged to enhance cooperation and bilateral ties. Both nations signed a series of agreements in the fields of foreign affairs, infrastructure, education, science and technology. While Xi said that Russia and China were the main battlefields of the World War II, Putin praised Xi's peace message at the parade. And with that, let's take you through some more international stories in Global Buzz. Congress members in Guatemala voted unanimously to accept the resignation of President Otto Perez. Vice President Alejandro Maldonado will now fill out the remaining months of his term. Maldonado is now serving as the acting vice president since May and is affiliated with right-wing movements. Forensic tests on two suspected bombers were unable to establish any link to the Bangkok shrine blast. The development is a huge blow to the investigation into the country's deadliest attack. DNA examination of the two foreigners tied them to a stash of explosives found in a Bangkok apartment block, but not to the evidence collected at the Erawan shrine, where 20 people were killed on the 17th of August. In the US, a white man accused of killing 9 black churchgoers during a Bible study will face the death penalty. Prosecutors said that they will pursue the death penalty against 21-year-old Dylan Roof because more than the people killed, he put a lot of lives at risk. Well, the fourth day of the US Open saw a major upset in the women's 9th-seeded Garbine Muguruza crashing out of the tournament. The 2015 Wimbledon finalist was stunned by Britain's Johanna Konta 7-6, 6-7, 6-2 in 3 hours and 23 minutes, the longest women's match in US Open history. Meanwhile, in the men's draw, Britain's Andy Murray fought hard, coming back from 2 sets down to beat Frenchman Adrien Manarino. The third-seeded won 5-7, 4-6, 6-1, 6-3, 6-1 in stifling conditions. Meanwhile, top-seeded Roger Federer and Stan Wawrinka also advanced to the third round. Second-seeded Federer defeated Belgium's Steve Darcis 6-1, 6-2, 6-1. Fifth-seeded Wawrinka, meanwhile, eased past Korean teenager Hyun Chung 7-6, 7-6, 7-6.
You know, I don't think she probably didn't play her best today, but, you know, credit to her. She's an incredible fighter, and no matter what level of tennis she brings to the court on the day, she always brings her top 10 mentality. So, you know, I really had to fight for each point, and it wasn't given to me. So, yeah, I'm just really happy to get to come back another day.
You know, I was leaving the ball a little bit short at the beginning, and he was making me do all the running. Thankfully, in the third set, I managed to grab a break point. I had a number in the second set and in the first set. He was serving really well on some of the break points, and I was missing a few returns, but it was an extremely tough match.
Well, Indian tennis aces Sania Mirza and Liana Pace enter the second round with straight sets victories at the US Open. That and more in Sports Beat. Well, Sania Mirza and doubles partner Martina Hingis defeated the American pair of Caitlin Christian and Sabrina Santamaria 6-1, 6-2. Meanwhile, Liana Pace and his Spanish partner Fernando Verdasco eased past Germans Florian Mayer and Frank Moder. The BCCI moved the Supreme Court seeking clarity on whether former board president N. Srinivasan can attend its meetings. Srinivasan had turned up at a meeting in Kolkata that was held on the 28th of August, forcing officials to abandon the conclave. Australia defeated England by 59 runs in the first game of their 5-match one-day series. A quick-fire 71 by Matthew Wade helped Australia post 305 for 6. The hosts started the chase well, but a batting collapse saw them lose their last 7 wickets for 94 runs before being bowled out for 246. And that's all we have for you on the news tonight. From the entire team here, good night and have a great weekend.